evening and welcome to the Grace Talk. If you're joining us today on Facebook or YouTube, or if you're listening to us on Vital GH Radio, my name is Gloria Godson, and this is the Grace Talk. Our show today would focus on young professionals. These are young men and women who are doing well and achieving success in their chosen professions. We're going to find out how they do it. With me in the studio today is Emeka Igwe and Mary Akimen. Emeka and Mary, welcome to our show.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So why don't we start with you, Emeka? Tell our audience a little about yourself. Who is Emeka Igwe?
Well, Gloria, again, thank you for having me on the show. Emeka Igwe. I'm an attorney. I practice law mostly in Philadelphia. I'm also licensed in New York, New Jersey, and District of Columbia. I've been fortunate during my 16 years of being a lawyer. I've had a lot of experiences. Started out as a district attorney in Philadelphia, where I prosecuted a number of cases. After doing that, I went to work at Allstate Insurance Company, defending people against lawsuits from people who were suing insurance companies. And doing both experiences, criminal law and civil law, kind of taught me and gave me the tools I needed in order to start my own practice, which focuses mainly on personal injury cases and some criminal law. We handle a range of cases anywhere from car accidents to medical malpractice to some civil rights cases. So in addition to having my practice, I'm also a military attorney with the Delaware National Guard, where I practice law and help soldiers with any legal issues that they may have.
Thank you, Emeka. That's quite a broad base of experience.
Yeah.
Wow. So Mary, tell us a little about your background as well.
Sure, and thanks for having me. That's very impressive. I don't know how I follow up after that. So thanks, Emeka. Thanks. But hi, everyone. My name is Mary Akimen. I'm a practicing attorney in Delaware. I practice in the area of employment law and commercial litigation. I've been practicing for 10 years at the same law firm in Wilmington, Delaware. I'm also licensed to practice law in Washington, D.C., New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And I generally represent employers in employment law matters, so everything from advising on termination, counseling on employment agreements, litigating in court, such as non-compete agreements or restrictive covenants, and just generally making sure that the workplace is a great place to work for everyone. So I counsel employers on all areas of the law.
So here you have two young attorneys doing well, you doing in private practice,
Correct.
having your own firm. So in addition to the experience that you bring, you also run your own firm.
That's right.
So you have the component of a business owner.
Correct.
As well.
That's right.
And here you have Mary, who is excelling in employment law in a law firm. So we have a diversity of experience today, and hopefully you can glean a little bit from here. And by the way, if you have questions, send us your questions and comments on Facebook.
Yes.
I will make them answer your questions. So tell us about your journey to becoming an attorney. Why did you become an attorney?
Well, growing up, I used to watch Law and Order and different shows, just like a lot of your audience probably does. And it just really intrigued me, the practice of law, and mostly it was criminal cases. But I just love being an advocate, being a voice for people who can't speak for themselves. Johnny Cochran once said, you can guarantee that you can never commit a crime, but you can never guarantee that you won't be accused of a crime. Mm-hmm. So once someone gets accused of a crime, I try and be that voice to try and get them justice. Also, if they're injured by somebody else's negligence, I also enjoy trying to get them justice as well. So standing up for truth and justice is really what motivated me to become a lawyer, and that's what I try and do in my everyday practice.
Thank you. What about you? What's your journey?
Sure. So I started doing mock trial in high school. I went to Christiana High School in Delaware, and I did the Delaware High School mock trial competition and won Best Attorney from that. And after that, I then competed in college and then in law school, and also won different awards for outstanding prosecution team and just different awards as best attorney. And I knew that this was the path that I definitely wanted to take, going to law school and becoming a lawyer. And so I did, and I've been doing it for 10 years and very happy doing it.
Wow. So this is really impressive that the thrust for you guys is just the passion for justice, passion to do the right thing. and passion to help people.
That's right.
Now, do you know that that's not the typical image of an attorney that people have out there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know that attorneys get a bad rap,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. That's
So
absolutely.
talk about that. Are you the attorney that they see on maybe Suits?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, a common question, and you hear that question a lot. And you know, there's all types of attorney jokes that people have out there. You know, I'm sure Mary and you know, in my everyday practice, we try and break those stereotypes. We try to be that voice for people who need to be represented. We try to be, especially from a Christian point of view, people come to you during their times when they have problems or they're dealing with issues, whether it be a divorce, an injury, being arrested. Obviously, some negative or bad circumstances happen to someone, and they come to you. You know, one of the terms for a lawyer is a counselor, an advisor, and they come to you, and a lot of times you end up playing multiple roles. Yes, you give them legal advice, but a lot of times they need resources for, you know, psychological counseling, and you really become a trusted person that they come to when they're in dire need. And so having that holistic approach that you're there to advise them mainly on their legal need, but also on other areas of life, you can really have a positive impact and not be that stereotypical lawyer.
Yeah. And I think just being kind of what Emeka said, part of being a lawyer is being a trusted advisor. Whether it's, you know, I'm counseling a multi-million-dollar client or someone who just started a small business, I think the counseling is still the same, which is tell me the good, bad, and ugly of your case, and so I can give you the best legal advice that I can. If you hide something from me or you don't tell me something, then it's very difficult to counsel that client and steer them in the right direction so that they can avoid risk or limit liability. And so I think a lot of times that trust can be built over time, but you really have to say up front to your client, you know, I'm here for you, I'm here to help you, like, don't hide anything from me. And as long as we have that even exchange, I really think it helps you to become that trusted advisor and counsel your clients accordingly.
You guys have mentioned three key concepts that are critical to any legal practice and any legal relationship with client lawyer relationship. Mm-hmm. One is risk, right, liability, and trust.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So can you address each one of those in your relationship with your clients? Obviously, you have your client is your the people that you represent through your company, and then you have to deal directly with clients that come to you. Risk plays a very big role in law.
Right.
Risk and liability.
Right.
Talk to us about that.
So the role of a lawyer is to be an advisor. I don't tell my client what to do. Ultimately, it's the client's decision. They come to us for our advice from a legal point of view. So I always present my client with the options. There's no guarantees. You can't ever say a jury is going to rule a certain way or a judge is going to rule a certain way, but you can tell them about probabilities. You can tell them about experience. You can tell them about precedent, how things have happened before. So you present all the options to your client. And to just piggyback off something Mary said, in order for me to do my job as a lawyer and give the best advice, we need our clients to be honest and to tell us everything. You know, attorneys have an attorney-client relationship where we keep everything confidential. Right. And so I tell my client from the beginning, don't hide things from me, you know. And I can't tell you how often clients do try and hide things for their attorneys, and it always has negative consequences because eventually, you know, what they don't tell me, the other side may know. And if I had that information before, I could have given them a better advice. So present the client with the options, present them with the best legal options. That's the primary role of the client, and then the client from there can assess what is the best decision to make.
Right, and just I think even in that same spirit I always ask my clients, what's your appetite for risk? You know, some clients, they don't care. They don't want to set a precedent. So we'll say, we're litigating this case. Let's beef up the lawyers. Let's go. We're going to litigate this case. We're going to go into court and fight this. Other clients are more risk averse, and they don't want to have that reputation, whatever, out there in the public that they are mean-spirited or not treating their employees properly. Even if they've done everything right, some of my clients are just, that's just their mentality. They do not want to go into court. They don't want this to become a public issue. So that's part of the assessment too, in being that trusted advisor, kind of like what Emeka said also, is setting expectations and letting them know, here's what I recommend, here are some of the options, but I also add, here's what I would recommend, and then leave it up to the client. What do you, given all of these options, what do you think, or do you want to take my recommendation or not? And along with that, what is your appetite for risk right now? Do you want to litigate this case? Do you want to spend millions of dollars to litigate it, or do you want to try to settle it outside of court where it can be kept confidential?
So what you're hearing a couple of things. What Emeka is saying is this: with the big role that an attorney plays is to provide optionality.
Correct.
Provide options to your clients, to let them know you have options A, B, C, and then the pros and cons of each option.
Right.
So to help them make an informed decision. So that's one of the roles that an attorney plays. And what you heard again is, if you have an attorney that tells you, I can guarantee you 100% success, that attorney is not a good attorney. Run as fast as you can. Because a good attorney would never be able to guarantee an outcome.
Correct.
Because there's so many variables. You have the
Right.
judge involved. You have precedent. Even though you have precedent, but judges can do something. They can distinguish a case
Correct.
and do something different from what the precedent has been.
Absolutely.
So
But
again,
even juries, if I could just even add that, even juries, you never know what some jurors are thinking. Jurors pay attention to everything. Like, they may not like the color of the outfit you have on that day, or maybe your hair is sticking up. I mean, it's funny when sometimes, you get the opportunity to pull the jury afterwards and find out what they were thinking, but you just never know what type of jury you might get and what might set them off or tick them off, or sometimes even they're falling asleep, so you have to keep them awake during the trial,
Right,
all
right,
different
yeah,
sorts of
okay.
things. So.
Right.
oh, you have a jury who wants to get it over quickly and go home.
Sure, absolutely,
Exactly.
absolutely, and that's a skill in of itself, is selecting
The
a
jury,
jury that you
yes.
think is going to be favorable, and also part of our roles as attorneys is to advise our clients on how to present themselves to a jury, how to dress appropriately, how to. I always tell my clients the camera is always on you. Anytime you're at trial,
Yes.
the jury is always watching you. So even your nonverbal gestures are very important. And of course, when they testify, we prep them, to tell them how to communicate their message effectively to the jury.
Okay, let's check in with our audience. James Lark says, hallelujah. James is watching. He wants
Hi,
you guys
James.
to know that he's watching. So keep those comments coming, James, and everybody else there. Let us know that you're watching, and we'll come back to our audience and check in a little bit. Okay, now, Emeka, tell us,
Yep.
what does it take to run a law practice?
It's a good question. So what I tell people is running a law practice is similar to running any business. In fact, there's many tales of good attorneys who try to start their own practice who ended up failing because they ignore basic things that any business owner, any entrepreneur needs. You have to know how to manage your books. You have to know how to advertise. You have to know how to get business. Because without business, no matter how good you are as an attorney, you're not going to be in practice very long. So having those basics, I advise anyone doing their own law practice, take some basic courses or read some basic books on just how to run a business, because it's going to serve you very well. Other than that, the best advertisement, I always tell people as a lawyer, is results. So once you start getting results for your clients, word spreads very quickly. Other satisfied clients will tell other clients about you, potential clients about you, and before you know it, your name is going to get out there as an attorney. The best advice, though, I can say is always do right by your clients. Always do what's in their best interests. Return phone calls. I can't tell you how many complaints I get from people leaving their attorneys when to come to me because lawyers don't return phone calls or don't return emails. So I have a policy at my firm: within 24 hours, if you leave a message, someone's going to get back to you. So just having good customer service and good business ethics will serve you a long way in running the practice.
Wow. So it doesn't matter how smart you were in law school.
No.
It doesn't matter whether you graduated top of your class.
Right.
If you don't know how to run a business, you're going to run it aground.
That's right.
You're going to wreck your business. So be very careful. And what Emeka is telling you is that running a law practice is no different than running a business.
Correct.
It's just that in a law practice, your product that you sell is your service.
Absolutely.
You're basically your product that you are offering to clients. Now, Mary, today at church, I met a young lady called Leslie. Leslie is probably watching today. She is at White now, studying law.
That's where I went.
Yes. And so I told her that you guys are going to be on the show today, and for her to tune in and listen to you guys. So now look in the camera and talk to Leslie. She's wanting to be an attorney. What do you think she should do to prepare to be a good attorney and to grow in the profession?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, law school is hard, so congratulations on even getting into law school.
That's right.
I will say first year is the critical year, because a lot of what you do first year will determine where you end up in terms of if you want to go to a firm or even in-house. A lot of roles are dependent upon your first year grades. So I would definitely say your first year, study hard. Forgo parties or extracurriculars, because your grades are really that important. And then after that, you really get an opportunity to select your own courses after your first year. During your second year, you get to select what courses you want, and you get a little bit more room in terms of what classes you can take and what you can do. Like, for example, in my second year, I studied abroad in London, so I had an excellent opportunity to learn the British legal system and the European legal system, and also do a little bit of traveling while I was doing study abroad. So I'd highly recommend, if you have an opportunity to study abroad your second year, to do that. And then third year is also very similar to second year. You get to choose which courses you want to take, and at that point you're really beginning to determine where you want to end up after law school. Some people go on to complete their MBA. Other people decide to start at a law firm or go in-house or work in government. And so during your third year is really where you're starting to prepare for the bar exam and determining which state you want to practice in. And so that's what you'll do during third year.
Emeka, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, all excellent points by Mary. Only thing I would add is perhaps seek out internships as well too, to get an idea of if this is an area of law that you would like. You could intern if you want to do criminal law at prosecutor's office or defender association offices. If you want to go into corporate, I know a lot of the big law firms offer internships. So in order to know what the practical aspects of whatever area of law you go into, internships is also a good idea to do.
And I will just add, sorry on that, because you did remind me. So a lot of law firms have summer associate programs, so that usually takes place after your first year of law school, and sometimes also after your second year of law school. And that's just an opportunity for you to intern at a law firm. And a lot of times after that summer program concludes, you then get an offer once you graduate from law school to start at the firm. And that's what I did. I've been at the same firm since my summer associate year in law school. So.
Very good point. So let's check in with our audience one more time. Kwaku Mafo, hi. Kwaku says, I'm watching you. So Kwaku, thank you for tuning in. Leslie, the girl that Leslie says, I'm here. Hi, Leslie.
Hey, Leslie.
And Mary Jane, MJ.
Mary Jane, we love you.
MJ, hi. She's watching, and she says, great advice, Mary. And Leslie says, thank you all for the advice. It was really helpful. I am finishing up my second year, I think, this semester. Most of my internships have been in corporate firms, so it looks like she's doing, going in the direction that you guys advise her. So, Leslie, thank you for those comments. Again, keep your comments coming. Send questions too, so we can get these folks to respond to your questions.
And if I could just add one other thing,
Yes.
I was just thinking of this too. Also, reputation is very important as a lawyer. So even when you're in law school, it's still very important. You never know those people that you're in law school with, when you'll see them again. Sometimes they might be opposing counsel. Sometimes they might actually end up at the same law firm as you. And once you become a lawyer, your reputation is also very critical. That helps you to get and retain additional clients. And it can also hurt you if your reputation is not that great. So I would just be mindful of that, and mindful of how you're putting yourself out there in the public.
Right. One additional thing for Leslie as well too is try and take some electives as well too. The great thing about law is that you can practice in a whole bunch of areas, and some people like being in front of a judge and a jury. That's what I prefer. but some people work better behind the scenes. Some people prefer transactional work. Some people, prefer, filing briefs and writing appellate briefs. So there's a great range of different areas that you can go into law. So kind of find out what you like, and one of the ways you can do that is by taking electives in different subject areas to see if that's going to be the niche you want to practice in.
And that's actually one of the things that I shared with her. Obviously, I'm biased because for those who do not know, my background is in law as well. I shared with her that the legal profession is a great platform, really, because every sphere of life needs legal work.
Absolutely.
So really provides a platform for you to do whatever you can. I started out doing courtroom work, and I figured that's not good for me because I took some of that pain home with me, So I would represent a client, and I'm like, okay, that was so hard, and I figured I would rather deal with money and not the lives of people. So it takes, you have to figure out what works for you. And whether you're in-house or in the courtroom scene and whatever, Emeka is very good at what he does, and I'm happy referring all the clients that I know to Emeka who need representation, because he's an outstanding attorney. And if you have him as an attorney, you are in a very good place. All right, let's check in with our audience before I have some more questions for you guys. Okay, Mary Jane says hi, and she also says, what is the question for you now? What are the greatest obstacles you face as an attorney in today's society?
Oh, good one.
Trust Mary Jane.
That's her husband, for those who know. This is her husband, for those who don't know. I would definitely say work-life balance is one of the largest obstacles, and maybe that's not just limited to law, but as a lawyer, you're managing a lot of client expectations, also internal clients. So the partners at my law firm, associates, paralegals, I all consider them part of our team. And so you're managing expectations there, managing workflow, people who need to leave for different various reasons, and just making sure the work product gets done and is it done at an excellent level. And so a lot of times that could take on your time and eat up a lot of your time. And then outside of that, there's your family and making sure that they're happy with you and not going to leave you. So I would just say that's one of the challenges. But how I've really been able to overcome it is by having Outlook. As my Outlook calendar really helps me to stay on top of all of the expectations, make sure I'm managing them accordingly, and just staying on top of work and life. And I always say, there's no way to get it equal, but sometimes, work might have to carry the weight of the day sometimes, and other times family and priorities there. So it's just about, I guess, striking the right balance sometimes and making sure that, okay, now that I've worked on this large project for 3 months, I haven't really seen my family. Now maybe we could take a vacation or something, or just, finding little outlets, even maybe throughout the day, checking in with family or something, just so you're not, your emotions and all of that are not taxed throughout the day, and you have opportunity to engage with your family and friends.
Right. Emeka, talk to me about work-life balance, because what she said is very, in fact, that was one of the reasons why I did not do the law firm thing.
Right.
Because, with a family with children, I wanted my weekends to myself.
Right.
I wanted to have a weekend. I wanted to be able to go to church. So, I have a friend who is a partner in a major law firm in D.C.
Yeah.
And I thought that when you become a partner, it kind of gets easier, but it doesn't.
Right.
And the rain making, she has to go out there and make the rain for her business, and it's really amazing. She's an outstanding attorney, but she really cannot plan for long-term vacations.
Sure.
She takes maybe in a weekend here something opens up and she goes with her family, but she cannot really plan like a vacation 1 year ahead, because she has to be flexible with her schedule.
Sure.
So I know how it is with a law firm.
Right.
Talk to us about running your own law firm, because you are really, the buck stops with you. So how do you manage that balance?
I mean, my wife helps me because she helps me because, admittedly, I tend to be a workaholic. And during the first years of our marriage, a lot of times I'll bring my work home. And she really helped me, as Mary stated, find that work-life balance, because it's very important. Law consistently ranks as one of the most stressful professions. Unfortunately, divorce and suicide rates in our profession are higher than other professions. And you have to really find that balance, that outlet whether that be your church, whether that be sports or some other hobbies that you have, in order to balance what you do in everyday life with having a healthy life outside of work. As a lawyer, you take on the burdens of your client. It's something that comes with the territory. There's high stakes involved because your client's concern or legal issue is very paramount, and a good attorney, takes that on. So in order to be able to deal with that high level of stress and the long hours involved, it's important to have people in your life, whether if you're a husband or wife or your friend, son or daughter, have those healthy relationships in your life to help you balance out. And I encourage people, have friends who are not lawyers.
Yeah.
Because if you're friends with lawyers, you're going to be talking law, and sometimes you just need a getaway, right? Like, you don't need to talk law, you just need to be with regular folks,
Exactly.
I think that will really help you find that balance that is needed in order to be healthy.
And exercise, if I could just say, I think exercise is so important too. It helps you release endorphins, and I think that that's so critical. If you're not, exercising, then you're not really healthy mentally or even physically. So it's very important to have, whether it's just walking, taking the steps instead of the elevator or something, just so you get that exercise in. It really helps to alleviate a lot of stress. So I would encourage that as well.
I completely agree, because again, and you have to have the discipline to commit to regular
Right.
exercise.
You do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A lot of what we're talking about is really discipline.
Correct.
In work-life balance.
That's right.
Of course, you can also marry MJ, and she would manage your schedule.
I think she's taken
Yes.
now, right? I don't know. I'm not gonna.
No, but I mean, not this MJ.
No, I'm kidding.
Not this MJ. This one is taken, and
Clarify that,
Emeka
yeah.
would fight you to the death if you even wink at her. But the point is, you really have to exercise discipline, because it doesn't just happen.
That's right.
And if you're not careful, the work will consume you.
That's right.
And I think it's because attorneys are very dedicated.
You're right. Yeah.
They're looking for outcomes, and they're working for their clients. And so they just pour themselves into it, and by the time they know it, they've just lost track of time.
Yeah.
And
And attorneys are very much perfectionists. I know I'm recovering
Right,
from that.
Right.
But a lot of times, and there was a case recently, unfortunately, with a lawyer who did commit suicide because of just the stress and not having the right outlets. But I think a lot of times we want everything to be perfect, and sometimes we put those demands on other people, or we start viewing the world in risk assessments and and trying to make sure that just everything in life is perfect, when that's not always the case. So I think sometimes it's good to have a reality check, to have those people in your life, like Emeka said, who are not lawyers, who can help you just know that everything in life doesn't have to be perfect, and we're not perfect human beings. People who really can tell us about our flaws. I think those are who the genuine friends that we need to have around us, so that we don't fall victim to that perfection mentality.
Right.
Okay, we're going to move on. We have a couple questions. But what Mary just told you is, if you're an attorney and you want to date someone, don't expect a perfect person. Don't look at the risk-reward matrix.
Yeah.
Because they are human beings,
That's right.
just like you are.
That's right.
Okay, let's go back. We do have many comments and questions.
Sure.
MJ says, great job, Emeka. Yes, Emeka Igwe is the best.
You're a little biased.
But I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Okay, question here from Leslie, and we do have a couple more questions.
Sure.
Leslie is saying, how did you decide what area of the law to go into? Did you instantly know what area you wanted to go into, or did you have to work in different areas first to determine where your interest is? How did you figure out what you're doing now?
Well, for me, I always knew I wanted to do litigation. As I stated earlier, I like speaking in front of courts and juries. I like making arguments. I enjoy the adversarial nature of law. It's competitive. It's you putting your best wits and best case against an adversary in a legal context. And I enjoy that, but I understand that's not for everyone. For me, that was something that I felt called to do. And so for me, it was easy to go into the areas of litigation, whether that be criminal or civil, where I could make an argument against another side.
Hey, Emeka is in it to win it.
That's right.
He's competitive,
That's
and
right.
this is who he is, and he goes in there and he's gonna get the best for you. So, Mary, tell us, how did you find your path as an attorney?
So at the firm, when I first started, I was in all different areas. So from employment law to government law to trust and estates, they really started us off in all different areas. And then when I was about like a second or third year associate, we had a very large employment law case that came into the firm, and I was the second chair on that case. And I fell in love just working with people and understanding the people issues and trying to make the workplace a better place for everybody, and also managing this large litigation that had come in. So we got to deal with all different issues, counseling the employer on a lot of different issues, and then also litigating a very high stakes employment litigation in district court. And through that process, I got to do the direct and cross examinations of all the expert witnesses, and really took a hands-on approach to the whole litigation. And I knew that employment law is definitely what I wanted to do, just trying to provide solutions to workplace problems. And a lot of times there's drama. There's a lot of drama in employment law. So I like that aspect too, and just managing the workplace and making sure that employees are treated fairly, and that I'm able to provide solutions to business problems in the workplace. So.
Okay, let's go back to our audience and get to a couple more questions. First of all, Heidi Harris. Heidi says, I'm watching. Hi, Heidi.
Hi.
Thank you for tuning in to watch our show today. Kwaku Marfo has a comment. Kwaku says, you're both an inspiration to all of us, especially the young ones out there with similar aspirations. And he says, good job. And we just had someone who loves this. So this is great. You guys are really getting a lot of comments. And Emeka says, work-life balance. That's true. That's very important. Okay, let's go back to another question that I have. A couple, I think maybe 2 months now, in September, I had a couple business leaders here. I had 2 CEOs and a corporate officer. And I asked them a question, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that they shared with our audience. I basically asked them, what were the qualities that got you to where you are? You succeeded tremendously in corporate America. How did you do it? And they mentioned a couple of things. Interpersonal relationships, obviously work ethic, we already talked about that.
Sure.
The ability to delegate and work, obviously, because the higher you go in a corporation, the more people you oversee, and the opportunity you have to rely on others to excel. And the ability to identify the right talent and to delegate becomes more important. And so they talked about that. They talked about, again, building trust. They talked about taking initiative. And I'm trying to recall, these are some of the major concepts and ideas that came from that. Now, translate that for us. Obviously, these are people who have succeeded in their careers.
Sure.
They have retired. They've achieved success. You guys are right now in the trenches doing this and doing it well.
Sure.
My question is, how does that translate to you? Does that apply, and where does it apply?
I mean, those are universal principles that will work in any arena of life, no matter what you're doing. Diligence, discipline, perseverance, interpersonal relationships, customer service. Those are all things that will serve you no matter what profession you do it. In law, it's critical to have those qualities. For me personally, in addition to all of those, I think my faith plays a big role. I came into law to stand for truth and justice. I compare my profession to law as a minister would feel called to go into the clergy. You go in because you feel that this is what you've been called to do, and to really help people. I have a case that comes to mind where someone has been incarcerated for 38 years for a crime he didn't commit, and we're currently working to have him released. And I think about 38 years in jail. I'm 38 years old. In fact, he got convicted 2 months before I was born. And I feel that nothing happens by coincidence. And the fact that I'm representing him, I feel that God called me, to represent him. And that's one of the purposes of my life. This man has been incarcerated for the entire length of my life. So I give that example to show that this is something that I I take with utmost seriousness, and all those qualities that you talked about, they're easy if you're in it for the right reasons. If you're in it to really help people, that's what will motivate you. You know, if you're in it for the money, if you're in it for ambition or whatever ulterior motive other than, you know, really trying to help people, then you're either going to burn out or you're not going to be very successful as an attorney.
That is very good. I mean, Mary, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think, you know, also we all have a purpose in life. Like, we're not just created to exist. Like, there's a purpose for us being here, and it's important for you to find out what your purpose is for being on earth. And in addition to that, I think to be successful is also, it's important to have good mentors and good sponsors in your life, whether it's in your firm or corporation or outside of your firm, or even someone who doesn't look like you or talk like you. I think that is what can really propel you to be successful. A lot of times, even in my career, I've had people who've advocated for me who were not even in my law firm, but they've been able to, you know, talk to the firm, oh, did you see Mary was on this or doing this project? And we're really able to show, you know, the firm that I was doing things outside of the firm that were representing the firm well. And so I think it's important to find those mentors, to find those sponsors, to sit down with them for coffee and just ask them, you know, how did you become successful? What did you do? And I'm sure that they would be willing to share that information with you.
That's a nice segue to one of my questions. But if you're joining us now, I have with me in the studio 2 attorneys doing outstandingly well. Mecca is in private practice, and Mary is in a law firm, but doing very well. And they're sharing with us their experience and also letting us know how you can succeed as a professional. Again, work ethic with many of the things that, you know, interpersonal skills, many of the things that you need as a person. And as Emeka said, it's not exclusive to the law. It's applicable across all professions, whatever you want to do. Because wherever you go, people are there.
Sure.
Yes.
And you're going to have to deal with people and relate with them. But Mary, I want to drill down a little bit into the mentoring and networking. So these are 2 key components, mentoring and networking. Because if you're in a corporate America, or if you're in a company or a law firm, some people just think it's just working hard. Working hard is good, but those networks outside of the firm. I had lunch this week with a young man that I'm mentoring, and I basically shared with him, I said, make the industry your playground. Demonstrate that you're good, not just within the company, but outside of it, so that you have currency outside of your company, you have impact, and that comes back, and they know that if this is not the only place where you're valued.
Sure.
There's value for you outside of the company. So talk to us about that dynamic and what is importance of networking to build a successful career.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important for you to get your name out there, to go to either conferences or be involved in the community, to give back, to not just be inside your firm or your corporation or your government practice and just solely focused on you and your clients. But it's very important for you to get out there, to give back to the community, and also to help others climb up to where you are. I fully support mentoring other people, and when people reach out to me asking for me to be their mentor, I wholeheartedly embrace that opportunity, because I feel like it's important for all of us to climb and lift each other up. And so that's what I would say about networking and just making sure, you know, your name is out there and in a positive way.
Okay. Did you want to add anything to that before we move on?
Just in addition to that, join different associations, bar associations, trial associations. There's different organizations that you can join. But as Mary said, put yourself out there. Always try to connect with someone more successful than you. I remember in law school, my second year, I went to a trial lawyer association. I wasn't even a lawyer. And I went to it, and I met a very successful attorney, probably the most successful attorney in Philadelphia, named Thomas Klein from Klein Inspector. To this day, Thomas Klein remembers me from that event, and he refers me cases to this day as a result of a connection I made during my second year of law school.
Yeah, and I think it's important too, when you get someone's business card, and you reach out to them, don't just ask them, okay, what can you do for me? Also be willing to do something for that person as well. Like, just show that you're taking the initiative, that you're not just in it to get, but to also give and to find, okay, where are there synergies? Where can I help this person? Is there an article we could write together? Or is there something that I can do for them? Just out of the good nature of your heart, not that you're expecting anything in return, but I think that will pay back in more than dividends. And when you just throw yourself out there and connect with that person, but then also show them, I genuinely want to help you in some way.
That's a great point.
Basically, bring something to the table.
Exactly.
Because if you have a relationship where you're always taking, they're not going to be there for a long time.
Right.
Yes.
It's going to be a
That's
one-way
true.
relationship,
Sure.
and it would not last. So
True.
always bring something to the table. Even if someone is mentoring you, bring something to the table all the time. Now, let me ask you guys, so how do you give back to the community? Any pro bono work? Talk to us about, do you invest in the community, and how do you do that?
Sure. There is a formal requirement as part of your bar license to do some pro bono work.
Explain what pro bono is.
Pro bono basically means doing something without legal compensation. In other words, you're not getting paid for doing the work. And, it's an unfortunate part of the business that you can't take every case that comes your way with someone who can afford your services, especially running your own practice. We have to pay the bills, right? So otherwise I wouldn't be in practice very long. But one of the nice things about having my own practice is I can pick and choose the cases I get involved in. And a lot of my cases, such as the one I mentioned earlier with the guy incarcerated for 38 years, we haven't received a dime on that case. You take cases on because you believe in it. You want to seek justice for that person. And even if you can't make a difference in every single case, for that individual you do help pro bono, you've made a difference in their life.
No, that is outstanding. And Mary, I'm going to ask you to chime in as well, because what he's saying is really, if you're not in this for the right reasons, that's when your name shows up on American Greed or some of those crazy shows. What you're seeing on this show today is that there are attorneys. I mean, the predominant number of attorneys out there are in it for the right reasons. They're in it to help people, and you're seeing a flavor of that with Emeka. And I love what Emeka said, that this is his calling. Just like you would feel called to the ministry. Right. And I felt the same thing too. I really connect with that, because I really felt that this was God's anointing on my life.
Right.
And this is what he called me to do. And I thank God for the opportunity to do it.
Right.
So, any pro bono work?
Yeah, I was going to say there's also opportunities to serve on nonprofit boards. For example, I serve on YWCA Delaware, and their mission is to empower women and eliminate racism. And there's 18 women who serve on that board, and it's just a great, excellent board to serve. And we do a lot of things in the community, provide shelter for women and men who are trying to do better for themselves and their families. We also have a lot of classes on financial literacy and different programs like that throughout the state of Delaware. And I also serve on another board called Mother Teresa House, which provides housing for people who have HIV. And then I also am active in our Delaware State Bar Association, and that organization, through that organization, we've done programs such as the Dr. Martin Luther King Day Breakfast and Day of Service. And that's a day where judges, attorneys, and all of their families come together to give back to the community. We serve in different nonprofit organizations by serving like Meals on Wheels, Ronald McDonald House, and all different organizations throughout the state of Delaware on MLK Day.
So you're hearing again the contribution that they're making to the community. We're coming to the end of our discussion with Emeka and Mary, and again, very fascinating. And as you can see, outstanding attorneys who are committed to God first, committed to their families, and committed to the community. So just, I don't know what profile you have out there, what image of attorneys that you have, but sitting in this room are three attorneys who have a very different perspective, focused on God, focused on community, focused on family. And that's the real attorney. The small minority who make the headlines are the bad ones, who put everybody else in a bad...
you have bad apples in every profession.
That's right. So, Emeka, I want you to look at that at the camera and talk to prospective clients. What do you do? Where can they find you? What kind of cases do you take? and what are the opportunities that they would have to connect with you if they have a case that probably would be something that you would manage for them.
Sure. So if you ever have a case where you've been arrested and you're innocent, because I like to represent people who I believe they're innocent for. So if you've been falsely accused, if you've been involved in any kind of accident, whether that be a car accident, whether that be a mistake in a hospital medical malpractice setting, whether your rights have been violated by maybe a police officer, or something has happened to you where your constitutional rights have been violated, I want you to contact the Igwe firm. You can reach us at 215-278-9898. That's 215-278-9898. You can also check us out on the web at www.igwefirm.com. As I mentioned earlier, I'm also a military lawyer, and I have a heart for helping veterans. So if there's ever a need you have, or if you know a veteran who has a legal need, have them contact me. If I can't help them, I will be sure to connect them with someone who can help them. So the Igwe firm, contact us by phone, 215-278-9898, or go to our website at igwefirm.com.
Okay. We're out of time. I was looking to see whether we wanted to take another comment. But Mary, what would be your takeaways for those who are listening to us today? What would be your messages to them? And Emeka, I'm going to ask you the same question as well.
Sure. My takeaway would definitely be is to be genuine, be who you are. Don't try to be something that you're not. There's only one Michelle Obama. There's only one Barack Obama. There's only one Emeka Igwe. There's only one Mary Akimian. We don't need duplicates of ourselves.
Right.
So I would just say, just keep that in mind. Just try to find your own niche and be who you are and be authentic and true to yourself, and that will really shine through. That will help you to attract clients. That will help you to just develop a great reputation in the legal community and in the bar. And so I would just encourage you to do that.
And recognize, if you're going to go into law, that you're part of a sacred profession. Mm-hmm. Societies are governed by laws. It touches every aspect of our society. We're a nation of laws. And so by being an attorney, by passing the bar and being able to walk into the front of the courtroom, you're part of an honored, sacred tradition, and do your best to uphold the standards and maintain the reputation of the profession.
Absolutely. This is an old profession, and this is a dignified profession.
Yes.
And this is a profession that really can do good and has done good.
Yes.
Many of the people who have been empowered to change society have had a legal education and background, and that gave them the boldness and courage to say, you know what, this is wrong, and somebody needs to do something about it. If you're joining us today, we have come to the end of our show today. I've really enjoyed having Emeka Igwe and Mary Akimian on our show today. Now, a couple announcements. The show that we had today and prior shows, you will find them on our website and also on our Facebook page, so you can continue to watch them and share them. And please like us on Facebook. And please, again, we're also on YouTube as well at The Grace Talk. Everyone, thank you for joining us today. We have had a fabulous program. Thank you for watching. Good night, and God bless you.